Okay. And what evidence do you have for this? Do you have a conviction? Has he been charged for helping fraud, or
Okay,
for
let's look
has
at.
he you believe that those are
No,
legitimate criminal felonies that you think he should be held accountable for?
I don't think Trump's a good person. So if he was held liable, I believe it. 24.
Okay, and why do you support Trump?
It's less so about ideological and policies. I'll split it up. I'll go border. I'll go international policies, foreign policy, and social programs.
What about social programs?
I don't personally believe in going overboard with social programs. I think that in an ideal society, in an ideal world, it's all out.
What's percentage fraud rate would be too much fraud?
I think any amount of fraud. I mean, especially
Any
right
amount of
now,
fraud?
especially.
So get rid of all federal programs because inevitably there will be some proportional level of fraud, like including defense contract. I mean, our defense budget. We should get rid of our defense budget because there's some level of fraud in our defense budget.
No,
Okay, so you don't believe that now. So then would you
not
like to
all
tell
of
me
it, but
specifically what percentage level of fraud, at least you estimate based upon the top of your head, that you would be like, okay, now this level of fraud is too much that we should totally get rid of this program
I'm not going
rather
to give
than
you a
just reform
percentage.
it?
I'm not going to give you perfect. Yes, yes. If we could reform it in a way that actually worked out, then I would be on board with it.
Oh,
But
okay, wait. Hold up. Well, then it seems like we agree. You can advocate for more policies to help out people in need and for social mobility and for these programs to ensure a baseline for everyone while simultaneously saying we should go after the fraud. Because anytime there's fraud, that's
mhm.
taking away from actually helping people. So I want to
Yeah,
go after the
well,
fraud as much as you do. But oftentimes people on the right are weaponizing this idea of quote unquote going after the fraud when inevitably speaking, they're creating conditions for Trump to engage in more fraud and continually supporting him doing so. So I just want to clarify, if you care about fraud, if you care about corruption within our government, there's literally no possible fathomable way that you could justify supporting Trump over Harris. Like at
all
least in
right.
the prior election, in retrospect.
My point of view is that okay, I'm not going to sit here and say that fraud doesn't exist in red states because certainly it does, and there have been recent examples in the Trump administration where they have Texas and Alabama. But I think that from what I see, fraud exists on a much higher level. Minnesota, California,
And
and these
what's your
politicians.
resources that demonstrate that? Because based upon numbers I've seen on overall fraud rate, Florida has a higher per capita rate of fraud comparative to both Minnesota and California.
And they have tackled it, and they are
Well,
tackled. But
Minnesota's
I
like a
think
safe haven for fraud. I just want to let you know, like they have certain laws on the books that fraudsters will go to Florida in order to be able to not get prosecuted for fraud.
one more time.
Yeah, there are certain things on the books in the context of Florida where fraudsters will go to Florida in order to be able to evade prosecution.
Well, you can say the same with California and Minnesota.
I mean, I've seen nothing to see that that's true with
Okay,
California and
what about
Minnesota.
what about the recent
What you
raids,
guys
and
are claiming is like NGO fraud that you think is through the context of
what
like
about the recent FBI
social
raids?
programs in Minnesota and in California. But what I would say is that this is true across the entire United States, not specific to those states, because
Yes,
there
it's
are
it's
these
true.
programs in all of these different states. And
It's true
also, it's
across the
something that
United
we
States.
all need to address, investigate, and manage, and not a specific partisan thing.
Yes, I agree that it's something that all states have to address. But I'm going to do the research, like you said, on Florida. I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt there. But what I see is I think a lot of these politicians, states such as Minnesota and California, it just looks like they're involved in it. It really does. I'm not making any accusations. But from the outside look, it's a terrible look. And there were recent FBI raids in Minnesota, and the government confirmed, whether you believe it or not, the hospices in California. They had to literally shut off funding to these hospices in California.
Okay, that happens all
Hundreds,
around the
hundreds.
country. Like if there's fraud in those certain areas,
Yeah,
and
but
I would
it's
love to see
happening
if there's a
to a.
source specifically. Like I'd like to see the one you're referencing, but I just want to let you know, like there is fraud all around the
This is
country for these different
they.
programs and
JD
things that
Vance
need to be
came out and
addressed
was
all around the
talking about it.
country. So do you want it? Do you want it? And what do you want? Do you think Democrats are like less likely to address fraud or want fraud to
Yes, I think
happen?
that they're less likely to address
Why?
fraud. okay, Tim Walz let fraud happen in Minnesota
By doing
for
what?
he enabled it, and there were recordings. He testified. I forget the exact details. I'll have to go look back into it. But he testified, and he was recorded, essentially enabling groups, these social programs, saying, "Hey, if you do this for me, please, or if I do this for you, please don't let them come after me in our group. I'll have to get the
Yeah,
source for
what the hell
you."
are you saying? This is so vague. And I don't know if that, who is he saying this to?
He recently testified under this.
Yeah, testified on saying what? You have to give me a more accurate description of the events. You're not really
All
clarifying.
right, give me a sec.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
get.
Alrighty. In the meantime, if you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you're on TikTok, tap that screen. I do have some people to thank real quick. Probably a slush fund for a bunch of the different cronies of the Trump administration claiming that it's to fight against prosecution, right? Or like unjust treatment. It's ridiculous. It's actually insane.
Just to let you know,
And they,
I don't. I agree with you. I
yeah,
don't
it's
think that
crazy, right? Like that's another
properly.
example of corruption, right? He's like, I had no clue about this, but I am totally in support of this corruption. It's so amazing, actually. Um,
Anyone who stormed the Capitol should
because
not be
like a literal this was brought to like a court, and they were like, ah, I don't think so. And he's like, okay, I'll just do it myself, I guess. So that he just took that settlement himself. On top of everything else, and what about the ice camps making a Navy deal for incinerators? I actually haven't even seen stuff on that. I haven't even seen stuff on that myself. If you'd like to show me where you got stuff on that so I can read more on that, I'd love to see. I haven't quite seen that yet. Alrighty. Did you find what you were looking for?
Former investigator Jay Swanson testified that Minnesota DHS officials pressured him, aka Tim Walz, to tone down or remove fraud findings
When you
in
say AKA
retaliation.
Tim Walz, is that what's put in there, or is that something you're just
That's
like
who they're referring
assuming?
to. They're referring.
Does it say referring to Walls, or
Yes,
is that something you're
this
assuming?
is this is directly
Okay, what's the
this is
title? Let me
direct.
read it.
New York Post.
What's the title?
New York Post ex Minnesota state trooper reveals how state tried to cover up fraud allegations. Then Waltz. Oh, give me a second. I just got a phone call.
Trooper reveals
Then Waltz shut down his department.
Minnesota tried to cover up fraud.
April 30th, 2026.
The most reliable source. I just want to clarify. Let's see
You
what they
said
say.
not the most reliable source?
No. It's a right wing source, but like I'm still gonna
Not
I'm
really. I've
curious to
seen
see
a
the
lot of
information.
negative coverage on Trump as well.
What's up?
I've seen plenty of negative coverage on Trump as well.
Okay. Um, but yeah, they commonly are going to
Are
perpetuate
you
like right
saying
wing
that the New
talking
York
points.
Post? Are you
But
saying that the New
let me
York
just try to
Post is
look.
fake
What
news?
does it say? Um, and then Tim Walz came into office, and Swanson's entire department investigating fraud and abuse was eliminated according to Republican lawmakers. Okay, so they just claim this. It's just Republican lawmakers claiming it.
All right, I got another one for you. House Oversight Committee.
Wait.
House
Can you
Oversight.
admit that there were investigations under Walz's control into fraud that he helped facilitate
Of course,
and
there was
allowed to
investigation.
facilitate?
Parker, of course, there were investigations.
Okay, so like what did he do to prevent these investigations is really the
Parker,
question,
there
right?
there was nothing. Okay, let's look at the number of
What could he do to prevent these investigations? Can you
FBI
answer any of those
raids.
questions?
It took the FBI to raid these establishments to get anything actually fixed. That's what it took. The state did
Okay,
nothing.
so can you explain to me what he should have done otherwise?
Uh, I don't know, Parker. What do you do when you're a governor and mass fraud is happening in your state? You fix it.
Okay, well then when you say mass fraud is happening in the state, I have a question. Do you think higher levels of fraud are happening in Minnesota comparative to every other state in the country?
I don't know the exact percentages, but this is
I'm
just
just asking, like, if you were to look at the per capita rate, if you looked at the level of fraud, would you say that Minnesota has the highest level of fraud in the country?
like I said. You mentioned Florida. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to
Well,
research.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Like, is that something that you believe? If it's not something you believe, well, then tell me what specific policies you think Walls should have enacted, and then you should apply that to every single one of the governors that has a state that has a higher fraud rate than Minnesota,
I
right?
I think that
Every single
I'm
one, and if they're
I'm
not doing it,
referencing
that means they're allowing fraud under your view.
I'm
Do you
referencing blue
realize
states
that? Doesn't
because
make any sense?
I'm referencing blue states because there's a much higher level of these state programs, a much higher level.
Okay, but then you'd have to argue that there's even a nominally higher level of fraud.
Okay, well, let's look at California as well with the hospices. I'll have to find the exact stats. But there
Yeah,
were
I mean,
thousands
you
of
can't
these
just give
processes.
anecdotal circumstances to then describe a common trend or
All right,
proportional
I'll give you
level
the stats.
of
Okay, give me a
fraud within
second.
a certain
I'll find
state.
it for you.
And
I'll
again,
find
you're
it for you.
also not indicating that Democrats want this fraud or are okay with the fraud. Can you explain to me why the Democrats would be okay with the fraud if they want to fund these social programs to provide for people in need?
What are your
Why
thoughts
would
on
they
fiction
want the
land?
funding for people in need to be stolen? Why would they want that?
What are your thoughts on that?
Can you answer my question before you ask me some random question?
Okay, I was gonna tie it in, but yeah, what's your question? Go ahead, ask it again.
You didn't listen. You,
Sorry,
you, you literally
you
were
don't
just
always listen
prepping
to
that Nick
everything.
Shirley question.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie it in, but
Okay,
go
and
ahead,
tie
ask
it
me.
into what? You didn't listen.
Into all the fraud.
Okay, well, listen.
Thousands
You
of
can't
these
just give
processes.
describe a common trend or
All right,
proportional
I'll give you
level
the stats.
of
Okay, give me a
fraud within
second.
a certain
I'll
state.
find
Again,
it.
you're also not indicating that Democrats want this fraud or are okay with the fraud. The Democrats would be okay with the fraud if they want to fund these social programs.
And I explained to you why Democrats are okay with fraud if they want. Okay, I think that obviously there a lot of people aren't okay with fraud, but like I said, from the inside out, it looks like some of these politicians are in on it.
Okay. And what evidence do you have for this? Do you have a conviction? Has he been charged for helping fraud or
Okay,
for
let's look
has
at
he been
the.
convicted? And like by the way, you believe all of these things to be true about Tim Walz without a charge, without a conviction, but Donald Trump's literally charged, convicted, and sentenced, and many Trump supporters don't believe that. I'd actually have to ask you, do you believe the felonies against Trump to be true?
Wasn't he held liably responsible
I'm talking about the
for?
felonies he was convicted of, the 34 felonies. Do you believe that those
No,
are
no,
legitimate criminal felonies that you think he should be held accountable for?
I don't think Trump's a good person. So if he was held liable, I believe.
Okay. If he was held liable of abusing a woman, would you believe that?
I've heard you bring up this point so many times, and yes, I would believe it.
So you believe that he abused a woman, yet you still support him?
I didn't vote for him, just to be clear.
You said you would
I
vote
just
for him over Harris.
if I had to, I would prefer.
No, would
I
you choose to not vote? You could either not vote, vote for Trump, or vote for Harris.
oh, are you gonna kick me if I say don't vote?
No, I won't.
I would prefer not to vote. I'm not gonna give my vote.
I lied. Let's go to the next individual. Only send a guest